sucks.
Can somebody explain the cloud to me?
No.
Like,
That's why they can't predict the weather. It's because they don't understand how clouds work.
Yeah.
They always get it wrong.
So, if you're just tuning in,
we don't know how clouds work.
By the way, how does somebody just tune in to a podcast?
So, if you're just tuning in, welcome to Mutual Friend Podcast. I'm Dave.
I'm Ian.
I'm Darin.
Oh, I'm Matt.
And we are Mutual Friend Podcast.
Oh.
So, yes, we were just talking about clouds and... and dogs barking. And
Sorry,
everything.
Jack.
We are completely knit in here, really, really tight, and there might be a dog bolting here very shortly.
And then everything will stop when that happens.
I like the idea of someone walking in here because I think the door is unlocked. I like the idea of someone like opening the door, like trying to rob me, and then they just see us sitting here in this pile of cables, and slowly they just close the door and leave. You're like, no.
Take whatever you need. Just be quiet. We don't want to pick it up in the background. Just. All right, Ian. You said you're going to be bringing up a particular topic.
Well, I just had an interesting, I guess, anecdote about my work this week. So I had this kind of weird thing happen where at work we have a ticketing system, right? So and I'm in IT, so we get tickets in from staff. Well, I got a ticket in that said that there's a patio outside of our building that people go and smoke out there, and they have one of those smoking tower can things that you put your cigarettes in when they're done. Someone put a ticket in the other day that said there is smoke coming from the cigarette butt, trash bin, and it appears that it's on fire. And I went, you do not put a ticket in for fire. You call 911. So I responded to the ticket and said, if there is a fire, please call 911. Also, you did not submit this as a building request. You put it in the IT tickets. I'm not dealing with this.
Yeah, the last people you want to send after a roaring fire is a bunch of IT service people.
Yeah, I don't know if there was or was not a fire. I did not investigate further. I just closed the ticket.
So Control FU.
Outside of my retail store in the past, we had this plastic contraption where it was a narrow pipe on top and a wide base filled with sand on the bottom, and you could put cigarettes butts in there. Occasionally, they would start on fire on the inside, and the most noxious, just toxic, billowing smoke would come out of it. And no one would want to go near it because you could smell from like 50 feet away that it was horrible. But you had to do something before everyone died. Yeah, so like it doesn't surprise me one bit that those things catch on fire.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't sure, and I didn't investigate. I don't even know which patio they were in particular referencing, so I couldn't look out a window and go, "Yeah, it's on fire."
So, Ian, is that the most bizarre ticket you've ever gotten? Then,
I would say that's up there. There was, so we've also gotten, again, because our building request tickets go in kind of the same place as our IT tickets. They're just a different type. I do occasionally get the bathroom on the 4th floor is flooding. Please fix. And I'm like, I'm closing this ticket. Please put the building request in. It's not, you're in the wrong place. You missed it by this much. Anyways, I think that's probably the most weird ticket out there. There's never been a ticket other ticket that I've thought, you know what, you probably should call 911. And I think that takes the cake, so.
Well, now, I don't want to, I'm going to try to move this away from work. Because I don't want to talk about work on the weekends specifically because it is Saturday. But Darin, what do you think about the Note 7 being recalled?
I think it's interesting and a terrible debacle.
So what's the deal with that?
There's been 26 recorded cases.
35.
Up to 35.
35 global incidences where the Note 7 has exploded.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Exploded?
Yeah, so the batteries catch on fire, and one of the shots of it that I saw looked like like it had turned into sculptable black ice. Like it was just like the frame had melted and the glass had melted together, and it looked like, actually, from Suicide Squad, it looked like wherever the bad guy had like altered things or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It was just like these sticky black stalactites like coming out of the phone.
Spikes.
Have you seen that old like viral GIF that was on the internet years and years ago, where there was someone put a phone or something in the microwave, and out of it came like a face, and it was something someone had made it, but it was like this black, like it was like the phone started like growing, and then it just came into this like black face, and it was like kind of creepy, and then the lights just went out. I think that was. Yeah, it was all. That was it. It was a really short GIF, but it was like that's just kind of what I think of when I hear about phones exploding, or like I've heard the chemical reactions in them in the batteries can like basically make the batteries expand.
Yeah,
and so that's kind of what happens is it just heats up and it expands, and then it eventually catches on fire.
Here's a
It's pretty
question.
common. Oh, go ahead.
I assume if it was Galaxy Note 7, there was a Galaxy Note 6.
No,
that's
that is
funny.
Galaxy Note 5 then?
Yes.
Okay. Why is this one blowing up then? I
So-
feel like you would
Because
take.
they
It's got to be a
skipped the
semi.
It's because they skipped.
Clearly.
So there's that's a
Different
legitimate question, right? I
How
think
did they not test it? I just don't understand.
so. There's two things at play here. First of all, every year Samsung, when they release a new version of their phone, whether or not it's a Galaxy Edge, a Galaxy Active, the Galaxy Note, it always comes in a different body. Always. So it doesn't matter if there's no changes requiring the need of a different form factor, they always do a different shape and size of the phone. And because of this, they're always designing with a 9-month window before they have to release, right? Because there's a new phone coming out every year. I think the other thing that screwed it up is the iPhone 6 came out in September of 2014, and Note sales, that would have been the Note 4, took a huge dive because of that. Because now there was finally a larger iPhone available. And although the Note's a fantastic phone and it's got a really cool S Pen that can do some fantastic things for people who take advantage of it, people don't. They bought the Note because it was huge.
It's a nice big phone.
Yeah.
Has the Edge technology. I think one of the things that actually killed it, this is the first Galaxy Note or Galaxy S series device that has the USB-C plug in it. And this thing charges devices fast, and I don't think they're able to handle that kind of change
Yeah, but the G5, which is having its own problems, very
with
different.
the battery. Completely different, but it's
Well, so the problems we've seen is with reception, but
seen that too, but
and then there's been 2 Nokia phones that use a USB-C, and none of those are exploding.
right.
So it's
And the Nexus phones are using USB-C.
Are they?
Yes,
Yeah,
so
it
my
doesn't
phone is
surprise
using
me.
it. Yep.
and your
just-
phone's old.
Would it just be a
Well, it's
combination of
only
everything?
It's a year old, but
Yeah.
like it's one of the. It had to have
It's
been one of the first phones.
Yes, yeah.
Combination of everything.
Yeah.
That's why it blows up.
I think the
And
biggest
it's
thing is
Chinese or Japanese.
is them not. We can edit that out, right? Is that Samsung
I'll just mute 'em.
doesn't test things enough. So, like when Samsung releases, a good example is the iPhone, and I hope this doesn't turn into like a phone podcast, but it is. When the
But it is.
iPhone 5S came out, it had a fingerprint scanner, and it worked great. Worked right away. It did what you needed it to do. It wasn't super fast, but it wasn't slow, and it worked great. The S4 had a fingerprint scanner that didn't really work. In fact, our Samsung rep, who's a great guy, came in about 3 months after the phone had come out and said, "Here's how you turn that off." Like that's when people started up, just do
The
this to turn.
S4 had that?
Yeah, the S4 had a fingerprint scanner. The S5 had it, which kind of worked. And then on the S6 had a pretty darn good fingerprint scanner.
Are you sure the S4 did? I worked at
almost
Best Buy
positive.
when that one came out, and that was not a feature that we even spoke about then.
There's probably a good reason for that.
Okay, well, fair enough.
But Samsung threw out something that was half-baked. So Apple is often, made fun of because they're slow. They don't
Slow
move very
getting things
quickly.
out.
But when they put something out,
It works.
It usually works really well.
So here's the other thing that when I heard the news yesterday morning, they said that they're recalling, we're no longer selling the Note 7 in stores and stuff. I was like, oh my god, I wonder if it has to do with the Retina scanner, because it has an eye scanner. You know, the future's here, where it scans your eyes and you can unlock the phone. One of the safety features with that is it only allows itself to scan your eyes for 30 seconds max. If your eyes are unable to unlock it after 30 seconds, you have to just try it again. And the reason why they have that safety measure built into it is so it doesn't damage your eyes. In fact, infants cannot look at the screen because it can damage their eyes. And I'm like, I bet you it's because this is causing eye problems.
Should be.
I mean, like, I thought that was totally it. And when I found out it was battery related, I was like, oh, okay. All right.
That's the public reason, right? That's what they're telling us. It's because of the battery issue, but
really, it's the
eye cancer.
Eye cancer.
It's the eye cancer.
It's the eye cancer.
It's the eye cancer.
What they didn't tell you about in the movie Minority Report is how many failed versions of that technology they had before they could recognize everyone's eyes from a distance.
How many in-home eye switching surgeries do you have to do?
Oh,
that's the new. That's going to be the new like judgment of phones. How bad is this going to mess up my eyes?
well, the blue light that's coming through is already pretty bad. So, I guess it's already a high bar. Eye cancer is the next logical step.
Yep.
Unless it can generate a finger that pokes you in the eye while you're looking at it.
Oh,
Three
better
of us are
than the Note
protected.
7. Oh.
Yeah. At least it didn't burn me. Well, there's some other kind of crazy things that can happen with phones, too, where I've had a couple of customers over the years who were exceptionally sensitive to various types of radiation. So, like, they could hold a phone, and you would hold it, and you're like, I don't even feel a heat signature on this. And they're like, no, it's burning me. And then they take it off, and you see their hands, and their hands are red, and like they've been holding something that's, on fire. And it's like, well, guess what? You just don't get to use a smartphone then. Here's your flip phone.
Here's a
I'm
tin.
sorry.
Here's a fairly long string.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yep.
Can I get long distance on this? Get out of my store.
You just get them to like make a Faraday suit.
Yep.
Just wear that around. It'd be
What's
fine.
the sphere? Is it Dyson sphere? Not related.
No,
but
that's Dyson's. What Dyson sphere is?
yeah, that's a planet inside a planet, right?
I thought that was a vacuum.
Yeah, it's basically basically a sphere built either around a planet or around a sun to capture energy.
Where the gravity is hitting the same. The gravity pull is the same. Like if you're in the center, you'd basically be pulled in every direction at the same time, so you're fine.
I think if you're in the center, you'd be on fire because there's a sun there.
Yeah, I think if you're talking about gravity pulling you, it wouldn't pull you each direction. Like you'd be crushed, right? If you got that close to the center of something that massive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thus ends the science portion of this podcast.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Something that's kind of cool with science. Bill Nye's got a show coming up on Netflix.
Yeah. I heard about that. I haven't read too much about it.
Rules.
Do we know what he's going to be talking? It sounds like it's a talk show or something.
Well, it's called Bill Nye Saves the World.
Hopefully he does.
Well, it'd be nice.
We could use it.
Yeah.
Please, Bill.
Is he going to be a write-in for
president?
Shout out, Bill. If you ever want to come and be on the Mutual Friend podcast, you're welcome.
We'll move Jack off the couch.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll make room for you, Bill.
So that should be good. I remember watching Bill Nye the Science Guy. Bill, when I was a kid.
Hey, Bill. What? The random voiceover, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Best part.
it was really good. I think it was a bit ahead of its time too. And obviously, he's become a very important scientific figure. I think I really like
Voice of reason, if you
Yeah.
will. Common sense.
I was going to say common sense.
I like Neil deGrasse Tyson, but he often brings a bit of pompous swagger to his science. He's very good at explaining science in a way that everyone can understand, which is good, and he's funny.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a little bit more arrogant than Bill is. So, like, when Bill's pleading with somebody about climate science and how the planet's dying, you can feel the earnesty there. Ernest?
Neil, we'd still like you to come
Neil,
on too.
Neil, if you want to come
You'd
in,
be great.
we'll kick Jack off the couch.
No, I agree, and I think I get what you're saying on that too. Yeah.
Yeah, when Neil would be talking to somebody who doesn't believe, if you're talking to somebody who doesn't believe in, climate change and stuff like that, and extinction level events, they're probably not going to listen to either Bill or Neil, but Neil will probably offend them.
Yeah.
Because he'll be talking down to them the entire time, like they deserve.
So speaking of space things, SpaceX just had would have launched a rocket this morning had it not exploded on their launch pad on
Note 7 technology.
It was 3 Note 7
wasn't this
strapped to the
morning, was it?
bottom.
So no,
Yesterday,
so yeah,
2 days
it
ago.
was Thursday morning, I think. I'm trying to remember exactly. I think it was Thursday morning.
The payload was an Israeli satellite. Is that what it was?
I don't know if it was Israeli. I guess I can't remember off the top of my head what the it's the Amos. I think it was Amos 7 sat. That's the name of the actual launch, basically. But they were doing or preparing for a static test firing, which is they do a test fire before they launch the rocket to verify that the vehicle is adequate and that they won't have any problems, assuming that everything goes the same way that it does in the test fire. And before they got to fully fueling the vehicle, this happened. Or before, they were about, I think, 8 minutes before the test fire.
Oh, so it wasn't even
It hadn't ignited, no.
Did they try this in Kerbal Space? What is it called?
Kerbal Space Programs?
Kerbal Space Program
KSP.
first?
I think they have intense simulations in KSP built on a regular basis. So yeah, I'm sure. No, I don't know. I don't know what simulations they do with that kind of stuff. But yeah, so it was basically still fueling, and there was an issue. It's clear from the video. They have a video out there that was put up by. As far as I understand it, they're like a group of veterans that go out and monitor the space program activities that are happening by various companies, and they put out videos and updates on what's going on. So they put out this video that actually shows the explosion, and you can see it originating in the second stage. So the rocket's built in 2 stages, right? There's the first stage is the part that takes it into orbit. The second stage is what pushes it into the orbit it needs to be in. And then the payload separates off of that. And so the satellite is the payload in this case.
And this is one where all the pieces are supposed to be reusable?
No, only the first stage is reusable at this point.
Okay.
At some point I'm sure they'll work on second stage reusability, but they're still working out the kinks on the first stage stuff, so...
obviously.
I mean, the second stage is actually what seems to have caused the explosion in this case too, which I don't know. They still haven't put out a whole lot of information on it, so we'll have to see, in the future what news comes out about it. But
do we know if anyone was hurt?
No one was around during the test fire.
I feel like it's a rocket. It's supposed to explode, so.
Yeah, so
think
I mean that's the big takeaway, right? Is that that space is hard, is what I think what NASA said after this incident. They said,
you're shooting
Where
something
isn't
into
just
space.
right?
Well, it's funny too because we've gone into space many, many times. Many countries
in the 60s
have done this, but there is a momentum, right? So it seems like every time if they grind everything to a halt with space exploration through NASA, when they start it up again, they're not starting from zero because obviously they have newer equipment and whatnot, but it's an incredibly difficult process, and they're going to go through this. But they've been doing these tests for 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah, they've been launching rockets. Yeah, I think it's been 3 years.
And they finally landed one of their rockets back on a platform in the ocean.
Yes,
that was a couple months ago.
Yep, that was this year. And at the end of last year in December, I think it was December or November. Forgetting my dates here, but they actually landed the first stage back on land, and that was the first time it had ever landed. Was they did it on land. They had been trying previously to land it on on the drone ship. And
well,
that
they
had-
usually land. This one just landed softly.
Right. So yeah,
It's
they
a matter of how.
they call it a RUD, RUD, rapid unscheduled disassembly.
Not like Paul.
No,
Or
that's
unplanned.
That's got an
I think
extra
maybe
D there.
unplanned is
That's an
maybe what it
extra
is. Anyways, it's a RUD, and that's when the rocket does not go, does not land as planned or hoped, or it explodes on flight or while sitting on the pad. RUD. So, yeah. So actually, the video for this when it came out was pretty interesting to watch, and it's it's sad because they've lost a multi-million-dollar rocket in addition to a $100+ million satellite
That wasn't theirs.
that wasn't theirs, right? And I don't know the technical stuff about insurance and all that stuff for them, but I'm sure it's not going to be a cheap thing
Force
to deal
majeure.
with for them.
It was act of God.
I know it's been out for a while. Have you guys seen the very first Back to the Future movie?
Yes.
Kind of sounds like Doc Brown being he's taking his research and using the funds from the
Oh yeah, from the Libyans.
the Libyans, and
Which-
they mow him down, and that's essentially what's going to happen here. I mean,
The Libyans are going to come.
yeah, that's
So,
right.
so
In their little...
their van,
In their van, and then their gun's going to get jammed.
electric van or whatever that thing was. I had watched Back to the Future a couple of years ago, and I remember watching it at that point. And then this has since come out on like Cracked and whatnot. Watching it, it was like that van just tipped over. Those people are still going to come and kill Doc Brown later, right? Like, there's no reason for them to not kill Doc Brown, right? It's a good
Right.
thing he goes back in space or goes back to the Old West and decides to live there.
Yes, agreed.
But they can still come and kill Marty. Great Scott.
That's heavy.
1.26 gigawatts.
1.21 gigawatts.
21,
Yeah.
Sorry.
How dare you, Matt?
I'll see myself out.
You won't be able to get out. You're
Stuff
wrapped up
sound
in
waves.
cables. Does anyone else have any topics of discussion to bring up? We've gone over some tech talk today.
Some crazy tech talk. Speaking of tech talk, when I got to work this morning, the routine is I usually get there, I turn on the AC because it's off, and it never turned on. Today was miserable at work, and we mentioned the Note 7. We're handling returns.
It was
ever
so
fast.
hot in the building because of all those burning up
Those-
Note
every-
7s.
Well, I mentioned that people are coming in to return their phones, and they're kind of upset and everything. And then the heat in the building, people are like sweating profusely, and I'm like, "We're sorry about everything." And it was pleasant to say the least. Yeah, it was a nice accent to the whole.
So what do you do
nature
with
of
a
everything.
phone that's gonna potentially explode? Does it explode just when it's on the charger, or does it explode just by being itself?
I haven't looked into the details. Have you, Dave?
I haven't looked into
I'm just
it.
wondering if there's like some precautions you do when
Bury it
you
in
take
cement.
when you take one of those phones back. Do you then just like rip the battery out of it and chuck the battery in a
Well,
chute?
so
and
here's the
put it
thing:
in
is
a
it's a
wooden box.
contained.
Duh.
It's a contained phone.
Oh, okay. So the battery's not. Yeah.
Removable.
So you just rip the phone in half and then
You just tear it in half like a phone book,
yeah.
and
break
then
it.
you flex for the crowd, and then wipe all of her horrible chemicals off.
Okay, that's what I thought.
No, that's a really good question because normally I prefer a non-removable battery. Like I use an iPhone for my personal phone and for my work phone right now, but on the Android phones, it's been nice to be able to remove the battery when your phone gets completely locked up because the physical buttons don't always seem to want to do it. But in general, I prefer a non-removable battery. But if somebody said, "Hey, that phone that you have is not a phone; it's a time bomb," and it's the battery that's going to
Then
explode,
that's a problem.
yeah. So in that case, I would be like, "Well, I'm not going to use this anymore, but I will take the battery out."
Up until this point, I have not seen any issues with the non-removable batteries. Have you?
No.
It's human error. It's the mechanism of removing the battery and doing that way too often that causes a lot of the issues and damages to the cells inside the
Well, I think it's also when it's a non-removable battery, they can make it different.
compartmentalized
Yeah.
a lot differently. Yeah.
So it seems to work a lot better. Like I've had multiple Nokia phones that had non-removable batteries. The battery life on them seemed to hold up longer than a typical Android phone, because that was a Windows phone. And so iPhones and Windows phones, which have for the most part always had non-removable batteries, seem to do pretty well for that stuff. Seem to.
There's always at least one customer who somehow figures out a way to make it not really work the best.
Yeah. I've had a couple customers who have come into the phones, or come into the store with we call them Terminator phones, where they break the glass and you can see the machinery behind it. So it's like when Arnold's been shot up a bunch, you can see one of his red eyes. And they're like, yeah, this part of the screen isn't working anymore. And it's like, why are you touching this?
Yeah.
Right?
Don't touch that.
Not only is it just covered in glass that's probably cutting you, but you have access to a liquid crystal display. I don't think you're supposed to touch that. Stop touching that.
Well, I don't have enough for the deductible for the insurance claim.
They just stick
Put tape over it.
yeah, you're right. They just put
Do you
clear
have a
tape,
screen
packing tape,
shield?
or they put a
And put over it.
screen protector on top of it.
Whatever, just stop licking it. This concludes our Tech Talk section of the podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to listen to this episode of the Mutual Friend Podcast. Please like our page, Mutual Friend Podcast, on Facebook, and share this podcast with all of your mutual friends. Also, give us a comment, or review on your podcast platform of choice, such as iTunes or Podbean. Thanks for listening.